So often what we do is we try and control those emotional states. We run away from the negative ones. We try and hold on to the positive ones. We want to keep the positive emotions close and make more of them, and we want the negative emotions to go away, and we want less of them. Someone pointed out that I think that often when we feel negative emotions, we can feel a sense of shame that I shouldn't be feeling these negative emotions. There's something wrong with them, and we do everything we can to pretend, particularly in the workplace. I think in the workplace probably more than anywhere else, we work really hard to make sure that those negative emotions aren't visible to other people. We keep them in tight control. But what we're starting to realize here is that when I try to control my emotions, effectively what that means is that I kind of deny them. I want to pretend that they don't exist. I want to reject them. I want to push them away. I can't, because I feel like I'm out of control. I then try very hard to get back into control by controlling those emotions. A great example is kind of a grief process. We've actually sort of, there's good, it's good science and research around the stages of grief, and there's books you can buy on grief, and there's this kind of process of, in the beginning there's a bit of a denial. Or shock, as sometimes they call it. I don't want to believe that this person or this thing has gone from my life, and then I'm angry that God has done this, or I'm angry that this has been taken away from me, and I can feel sad after that. Bargaining is when I sort of renegotiate with life the terms upon which I'm willing to move forward, and then ultimately I come to acceptance. But actually, the road we get is kind of this chaotic, swirl of emotions back and forth between anger and denial and depression, and maybe a little bit of acceptance, and then back to guilt and shame and frustration and anger and denial again. So the trouble is that when we try to control our emotions, when we try and control how we feel, and we deny those feelings, we avoid them, we suppress them, we impose upon them, we oppose them, we stand in opposition to them, we end up in opposition to ourselves. Think about it for a second. I have an emotion, here it is, and I say to that emotion, you're no good, I don't like you, I don't want you here, I want you to go away. When I say impose upon those emotions, Amanda, I'm talking about that time when you have a feeling and then you say to that feeling, go away. You're not welcome. You can't belong here. We impose, we sort of push down. It's that kind of pushing down. It's a bit like the suppressing, but we're sort of, it has this kind of real, go away, I don't want you. But what's critical in terms of understanding what's happening to us and the process and the way out of this is to realize that this process of kind of hating on the feeling, judging the feeling, wanting the feeling to be gone, that actually becomes the bigger part of the problem, because now I'm in opposition to myself. Kind of one of the great insights of working psychologically with emotions is that actually we have almost no ability at all to get rid of our emotions. We can kind of, people develop this ability to numb, and this is what medication often will do. It will kind of numb the emotion so it just doesn't become so overwhelming and powerful. But inadvertently, if we numb the negative, we end up numbing all the positive as well. I've got a client who's come into me, a young man who just, nothing massively tragic, but he just got deeply, deeply hurt in early romantic relationships as a teenager. And it was so painful that he just developed this ability to disconnect. And I'm going to take it out of the screen. It's just disconnected from his feelings. And he's come to me going, yeah, look, I don't really get that sad, but I just can't feel happy either. And so when we dissociate from our emotions, we end up dissociating from all of the emotions, not just the bad ones. And that's unfortunately what most medications do as well. They will help us to sort of lessen our negative emotions, but they also end up lessening all of our emotions. So we end up much flatter. We don't have such deep downs, but we also can't reach the same highs that we might have been able to as well. When we are in opposition to ourselves, when we are kind of fighting against these feelings, this leads to literally a tension, literally like you're pulling on a rope and you're making it tense, because it's like a tug of war. You know, I've got some negative feelings. I feel ashamed. I feel guilty. I feel angry. Part of me says, you're not allowed to feel that way. You've got to stop feeling that way. You have to be positive. You have to feel good all the time. You have to put on a brave face. You have to keep on a happy appearance for your husband or your wife or your children or your parents or your work colleagues or your employees or your managers. But I don't actually feel that way. This tension builds, and we carry this tension in our bodies, and we call this stress, or we call it anxiety. And over time, there's another slide, my other slide that we've just been editing the slides just today. But the other slide, I had two, two antelope or deer, big male deer, and they were clashing. And it's that clash within us, that kind of internal battle with ourselves. That's to a great extent what stress is, particularly the persistent stress that won't go away. There is a healthy stress. There's a healthy stress that I talk about, which is when I have a goal. For me, doing this webinar today, getting ready for it, making sure that everything was the way I wanted it to be. But until I've actually delivered the webinar, there's this kind of healthy stress that helps us get to that goal. And when we get to the goal, the stress simply dissolves. But this kind of stress, where I'm in kind of constant opposition to myself, it never kind of goes away, and it always builds. And what's really interesting about it is that I feel stressed and I feel anxious, and guess what I do? I turn against that stress and anxiety. And I say, God, I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel anxious. What's wrong with me? And guess what? More tension, more stress. And so the spiral deepens. What is my view on medication? Medication is really valuable for a large number of people who cannot find another way out. What we know from the research is that in terms of comparisons between medication and therapy, any kind of psychotherapy, whether it be CBT, or sort of CBT solution-focused, person-centered, or even kind of art therapies and even spiritual kinds of therapies, whatever sort of appeals to the person, is that the therapies, the talking cures are much more effective than medication. But not everybody wants to talk about their problems, and so that's where medication can be useful. Also, for some people, that's got to such an extreme that the best results come from a combination of medication and psychotherapies. The reality of medications is that medications don't solve problems. Medications treat symptoms, and so your medication will treat your symptoms. But then, if you don't actually resolve either the intrapsychic issues from early childhood or the actual real life issues that are going on in your life, and you try and stop the medication, then those issues will just come back. Yeah, Carol says what you are versus what you think you should be. How do we recognize we're doing this before it gets to a high level of stress and is blindingly obvious? Okay, let's talk about that. All right. But for my next question, just pop some quick ideas into the chat. So having heard this, and I guess this is the starting point, John, what are some things that you personally might need to accept that you can't control? Sort of listening to this now, what might you need to accept that you just actually can't control in your life? Naru's really quick there. Quick off the mark. Other people. I tell you what, that is on the top of the list, isn't it? One of the things we can't control is other people. Bronwyn's very interested in my thoughts on medication for ADD to avoid constant feeling of overwhelm. Does it have the same flattening effects you mentioned about not having the same highs? To extent, Bronwyn, it will sort of have a leveling out effects. A lot of people respond really well to ADD medication. It is a trial and error thing. It's not universally effective, and I would be encouraging you to find self-care strategies and techniques, particularly around overwhelm. The thing about a medical doctor has 15 minutes to diagnose, a GP has 15 minutes to diagnose you. He or she cannot do talking therapy, cannot do coaching, cannot do counseling, because 15 minutes is just you can't do anything in 15 minutes other than say, okay, here's your symptoms, here's your prescription, off you go. So if you are going to take some medication, then also look at other techniques. The most effective technique, and one you don't need talking therapy for, is mindfulness and meditation, yoga practices, physical exercise, and those are excellent ways to begin to sort of help you to what we call emotionally self-regulate. Accepting the death of a loved one, accepting the end of a relationship, and that does fit into people. You can't stop people from dying. We can't stop people falling out of love with us. We can't change other people's opinions of us. We can't change our own limitations. There's wonderful philosophies underpinning most therapies around limitation and the fact that we have limitations. I'm sort of born into this body that I was born into. I was born to the parents that I have. I have particular gifts, but I have particular failings as well, and I can't, to a great extent, I can work on them. But some people are just going to be much faster runners or swimmers than I am. Some people are going to be just much better mathematicians and sort of entrepreneurial thinkers than I am. That's just how it is. And so there's a limitation that I might need to accept. Other people's views, opinions, other people's behaviors, towards you. So you accept that you can't control the behavior, but then what we're going to look at is what can we control? Losses, other people, external factors. I love the contributions today. COVID, can't control COVID. There it goes. Can't control, to a great extent, we can't control government's responses to COVID. Carl says empathy helps. Physical disability, COVID restrictions, accepting ourselves, motivation. Oh, so many comments. Same through Don. I wish I could thumbs up some of these comments. Yes, wish we could thumbs up. There's a bit of feedback for Charlotte. Children brought them into the world, can't control their behaviours or choices. Wow. And when you say that to yourself tomorrow, when you actually go, I can't control their choices, I can't control who they become. We can control how we react to others' expectations. Athena, I'm just going to leave your comment there because I need to move on. But it really is a fascinating topic, and it's that topic around medication or therapy, self-care, and prevention versus kind of the cures offered by medicine. It's a big and controversial discussion, and it's really important to sort of be aware of that. And I think what's really big is that medicine has made so many things so wonderful in our world, and really has extended our lifespan and made our lives so much. It really increased our quality of life. But when it comes to mental illness, it still remains a bit of a big unknown. And the evidence is clear that the talking cures are actually far more effective than the medicinal cures. But for so many people, the challenge is that taking a pill is so much easier than going and sitting and talking to someone about what's going on with you. Loved ones with mental illness you can't control, major life events. Sometimes things just happen. Our parents grow old. There are some things that do need to be controlled. And I'll get your thoughts on this, but because of time, I'm going to move on quite quickly. So what does need to be controlled, do you think? Yeah, Stephanie's a vet, and the search for the silver bullet for clients is a real challenge too. Yeah, there's that expectation. I've seen some wonderful documentaries. My kids watched a show called Operation Ouch with these twins, and then the twins did this great documentary in the UK where they went into a GP clinic and went, why are we, they were like, we prescribe billions of pills every year in the UK. Why do we do this? And he went into a GP surgery going, right, I'm going to change the culture. And the series was about him going, oh my God, it is so deeply entrenched. And the doctor saying, good luck, mate, because it's not just us, it's the patients who demand the quick fix. And so we give them what they want. Patients come in saying, this is how I feel, this is my problem, fix me. And the doctor's like, well, what about, why don't you go and do all this hard work? The patient goes, I don't want to do all that hard work. I just want you to fix me. And so there's this culture of just fix me. Some things you might need to control. Yeah, your reactions to things, expectations. Yeah, you can start to. Expectations are manageable. Expectations are super powerful. Thanks for bringing that up. The way you respond, yeah, that's right. You're absolutely on the mark. There's actually, you can possibly control your negative by challenging them with more positive ones. Yeah, you can begin to challenge your own thinking, and there are techniques, and the Uprise modules through the Uprise app provide some of those techniques for how to change your thinking. They call it cognitive restructuring. The essential ones are, but think about what we can control. You can control, particularly in the workplace. What we've discovered in the last sort of 30 years is health and safety has actually become a thing. Kind of wasn't a thing before that. People just get hurt and we go, oh yeah, oops, sorry, hope you don't sue us. But it's like, oh, we are going to sue you. And so then health and safety has become a thing. And then workplaces have realized that actually health and safety is really controllable. You've got control over your daily and weekly schedule within limitations, but you get to say what time you get up in the morning, what you do first thing in the day, what you put into your body. You choose. You mostly get to choose who you spend time with. Sometimes you say, "Oh, I don't choose my family," but sometimes you might be forgetting that actually you don't have to spend the kind of time with your family that you think you should. Meeting your work and other commitments, turning up to meetings on time, getting your work done on time, getting your work done to a quality that you are happy with. That's to the best of your ability. So those are things you can't control. Feelings themselves, in the moment, you can't control. So this is where we come to acceptance. Yeah. So the lovely little example is here. It's raining. Don't like the rain. Wish it wasn't raining. My day would be better if it wasn't raining. The rain's ruined my day. I feel like every day is like this. It's always like this. It's always raining. Where I am, I'm up in central New South Wales. It's been raining every day for 3 weeks. It hasn't stopped. And I can see how, if I was like, oh gosh, I wish it wasn't raining, then you sort of build up this tension. But I'm like, it's raining. Nothing I can do about the rain. It's sort of, you can feel this kind of, I don't want it to be raining, but it's raining. I don't want to feel depressed, but I feel depressed. I don't want to feel anxious, but I feel anxious. Stop feeling anxious. I wish I could stop feeling anxious. Why am I feeling anxious all the time? Or, oh, it's raining. I feel sad. I'm feeling anxious. Okay. I'm feeling a bit of shame right now. Oh, feeling a bit of guilt. Okay. That's how I feel right now. TT, I'm not sure what TT means. Setting good boundaries. Emily's found the images. Carl says, yeah, glass half full. Carol's looking for a crying face. Okay, so this is the other thing. This is it's a simple graph, but this is kind of, again, back to the science that, and this is where we do a lot of work in pain management, and one of the apps in the Uprise module is around pain management. And what's really interesting around pain is that there's kind of a real difference between the level of pain, kind of measurable on a just this is the level of pain scale, and the amount of suffering that a person experiences, and they're really different. And it's exactly the same thing. If I hate my pain, if I fight against my pain, if I reject my pain, if I use my pain to convince me that there's something wrong with me at a much deeper, more sort of spiritual, personal level, then my level of suffering will go way up. Amy's asking a question: how do you connect to things that create positive emotions if you're stepping back from feelings? Well, you're not stepping back from them. In fact, Amy, it's the opposite. You're accepting your feelings. And what happens when you accept your feelings is that you end up opening up to them. Now, the thing that terrifies most people is that when I open up to my feelings, I feel them. And the fear that we have is that if I feel my feelings, then it won't stop. The pain won't stop. The sadness won't stop. The shame won't stop. And yet the reframing of feelings is that they're not good or bad. If you think about what it means to be a human organism, that's evolved over many, many millennia, feelings are there for a reason. Feelings are a communication. you don't send it on its way. Don't send it on its way. You accept the feeling. So if you're interested in more about how to do this, and we use mindfulness and becoming aware of feelings as sensations, and then imagining emotions as colors. And what you'll really notice about it is that there's this acceptance, but there's no getting rid of. Yeah. And that's the thing to get away from. This mindset of, well, I'll be aware of it and then I'll get rid of it. Doesn't work that way. I'll accept it, and then 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 I'll accept it. Okay, thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, everyone. We're getting close to the end. Amy says, how do you connect to things that create positive emotions? Stepping back, is this right? See the negative feeling ring up? No, don't send it on its way. Accepting that you feel a bit sad and flat, deciding to be kind to yourself and curl up with a book rather than telling yourself off for being, yes, thank you, Bronwyn. Cut wood, carry water. Oh my gosh, Carl. I feel like it's straight out of the what's the book called? The Tao Te Ching. Sayings from Confucius. Okay, so if you're engaged in a battle to control your emotions, then they are in control of you. But when you accept your emotions as they are, when you allow them to be, when you listen to them, you can actually say to your feelings, what are you trying to tell me? But then you need to listen. What are you trying to tell me? And then listen. When you accept, you control. Yeah, when you accept your emotions, when you accept your emotions as they are, when you allow them to be, listen to them, then you are back in control. This slide is about radical coping statements. These are all sort of radical acceptance statements. There's this concept of radical acceptance that just says, breathe in, feel the feeling, and just say to yourself, I radically accept this as it is. The death of a loved one. I feel the pain. I radically accept this as it is. It's the way it has to be. The present is the only moment I have control of. No use fighting the past. This moment is the result of a million other decisions by a million other people. I can't change things that have happened already. They're all, there's a myriad, infinite number of events that have led up to this event right now. And these are the final feelings. If we accept the feelings, we could be afraid of having to do the work of change. And that's the bit to be aware of, that, you know, the therapy that has acceptance in its name is called acceptance and commitment therapy, because the recognition is that, yes, it's great. Yes, we can accept. But what if we accept our emotions, if we accept what our feelings are trying to tell us, then we might need to commit to a different kind of action in the world. We might have to commit to being a different kind of person, doing a different kind of thing. Attempts to control emotions makes things worse. It helps to focus on what you know you can control. It really does. When you focus on what you can control, go ahead, control it. It does feel good. But then acceptance of how you feel and what you cannot change paradoxically puts you back in control.